Some folks are likely joining me. I'm actually just going to bring up my dashboard here. So just FYI, I got a camera here, but I'm kind of watching things on my other screen here. If you see me looking off there, that's why. Give me just 1 second to set a couple things up, and then I will get started doing some live coding on the Oregon by the Numbers report that I've worked on for the last couple of years. All right. All right, I am just checking to make sure I am streaming this to Twitch, to Twitter, as well as to YouTube using a service called Restream, which is great if you're interested. So I should be able to connect with folks there. And then if you have any comments or feedback or help, because I'm gonna probably need some help. If you can put those in any of those locations, I will get them. So let me actually just walk through. Diego, sorry, that's my dog over there. You may hear him chiming in. He likes to offer code suggestions. None of them's been right yet, but see what we can do. So let me just kind of walk through what I'm attempting to do today. The last 3 years, I have worked on what's called the Oregon by the Numbers report. You can, if you're interested in seeing more, I'll just put it up here. It's just tff.org/OBTN. That's Ford Family Foundation, which is a foundation here in Oregon, as you might have guessed, where I'm based. And I did all the visuals for it. So you can see, for example, lots of maps. This is a sample kind of infographic page for each county. And then one thing, and the thing I'm going to really focus on today, well, actually, just to take one step back. So most of this, I think I've kind of confused people because people have wondered, okay, was this made entirely, like was the layout entirely done in our Markdown? And the answer is no. Let me just turn my do not disturb on my phone. So all of the visuals are made individually in R, and then I worked with a designer, graphic designer, to actually put them into InDesign. So this document was made in InDesign. I recognize that it would be super cool at some point to do this entirely in R Markdown. We're not quite there yet. And maybe in the future we will be, but today what I really want to focus on are these tables here. So for each county, there is a page that I think of as kind of like the infographic page, gives some broad information, and then there's like a table on the following page, and on that page it lays out kind of key social, economic, education, etc. indicators. And it compares them to the whole of Oregon, as well as to rural parts of Oregon, as well as and urban parts of Oregon. And so what I want to do, this I have literally, all of the other things up here I pretty much automated. So it, I have some code that produces all the graphs, and then they just get, placed in InDesign. The table, however, has been the most painful part because I literally was copying this from R into a table template in InDesign. And nobody has actually told me there were errors yet, but I'm pretty sure there were, just by nature of the fact that it was not automated. So my goal for this year is to automate a lot of the table making process. And let me actually just move this to the side. So this is the table. Let me turn off the sidebar. So this was the table from last year's version. And a number of things are going on. First of all, there are different types of indicators. So you can see they're social, economic, etc. And then also when we do these comparisons, so comparing, for example, in this case, Baker County to Oregon or rural, the color of the text varies depending on whether the Oregon, for example, if it's above Baker County, then it's in blue. If it's below it, it's in red. So I need to do a number of things. And the first thing I'm going to say is we're actually looking at kind of changing it. Not too much, but this is kind of, again, the designer I'm working with, this is the design that she's come up with for an updated version for the 2020 edition. And so my goal today is to start to get to something like this. And I really want to produce basically the table that's kind of on this half of the page. My guess is like this portion of it is likely to be done in InDesign. But if I can, at the very least, automate it so this portion of it is created automatically, that will save me a ton of time. So I am going to flip over to R. I'm going to be using the kableExtra package. I actually looked at using GT package as well. A number of people suggested that package was still kind of in development, and so I'm not using that. I'll say that this is actually I've briefly used kableExtra, but not very much. So I'm going to be kind of working through this. One thing I've actually done differently this year is that I've actually converted this into a package. So whereas last year, let me even open this and show you. So with Oregon by the numbers, for example, in 2019, I won't actually open the code, but the way it worked, it was just a regular project. And I had a bunch of R script files that each kind of made all the individual types of maps. And you can see I had one, for example, that made the tables. It didn't actually make the tables, it just basically made the text that I then copied. So I converted it this year, like I said, into a package. I'm relatively new to package making. So if you have advice on that as I go through it, I'd love to hear that as well. So I'm going to start out, and I'm just going to load the DevTools package, which is kind of a suite of things that you use to make packages. I won't go into the details on that. But then I'm going to run the load all function, which will give me access to all of the functions as well as all the data that I have created. And I've done that in my data raw file. I have an import data file, and it basically, I get this data in a series of spreadsheets. And so I import it and then turn it into data in RDA files that then I can open them. So the file that I'm going to actually work with is called obtn data by measure. And let me actually just run data. That'll just enable me to put it up here so I can kind of show you what I'm working with. So this is in tidy format. The spreadsheet that I got, I'll actually open it up. So the spreadsheet that I got was basically a series of sheets in a series of tabs, one for each measure. So you can see, for example, here is what it looked like. Here's information on rural population, migration, food insecurity, etc. I reshaped it, did a number of things, and made it into a tidy format here, which is what I'm going to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. So let me uncomment this stuff. The way I typically make functions when I'm writing a package is just to kind of write them as if I'm just working in a regular R script, and then I later convert them into functions. We'll see. I don't know if that's what other folks do. That's what I'm going to do today. Again, if you have feedback for me, I'd love to hear it. So I'll load the tidyverse package, and I'm going to load the kableExtra package. Let's see. So I have, well, I had written some code yesterday as I was just kind of getting set to view it, but I don't actually need that anymore. So let me see. Let me do this. I'll bring this up. I'm going to first work on just kind of the first section here. So basically like the community section. So let me look at this. So I need to get the appropriate category. And I'll say we've actually changed the name of this category. In 2020, it's going to be called Community. In 2019, it was called Social. The data that I haven't actually received the data yet for 2020, so the data that I'm using is the 2019 data. So I'm going to write the code now, but obviously I'll change it as I get new data. So let me do obtn data by measure. And I'm going to filter, so category equals social. So if I do that, then and I can just add a view here, for example. You can see now I only have the categories that are for social measures. All right. I'm going to now select the variables that I need. And let me actually, just to make this easier to work with, let me actually pop this out. I'm going to put it over here. Hopefully this will make it a little easier for me so I don't have to kind of continually flip back and forth. So I'm going to select geography, which I've called geography, not county, because it includes both counties as well as potentially like Oregon or rural or urban. I'll keep the value. I definitely need the measure. I'm not going to keep the category now because I know I'm just working with social ones. And I'm not going to keep the last two columns because those are actually for when I'm making choropleth maps, so I know I don't need those. So if I run that, you can see this is now what I'm left with. All right. So flipping back over here. All right, so the first thing I'm going to work on is just kind of reshaping this because I need to basically have all of the variable, basically Baker, so whatever the county that I'm working on now in one column, and then I need to have Oregon, rural, and urban in their own columns. So let me actually add filter geography. So I'm going to do in to only keep Baker, Oregon, rural, urban. So you can see now I have various measures, and I should have the ones that are here. Yeah, food insecurity, child poverty. We've changed, child abuse is changing to foster care, which is why it varies slightly, but that's basically the same one there. Index crime and voter participation. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to need to take this geography column and put it, basically make it into columns. And actually, let me first start by putting measure first. So let me just reorder this. So now I have measure first. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to, what I need to do is basically take this column, which is a single variable, and separate it into multiple columns. So I'm going to use the pivot wider, and I will say this is a relatively new function. It's great, although I haven't used it enough to be able to use it off the top of my head. So let's see, I need to, I'm just going to actually scroll down to the example. Right, so I need to say which column are the names from a new variable is going to come from. So the names are going to come from the geography column, and the values are going to come from the value column. So names from equals geography, oops, and values from equals value. That. All right, awesome. I'm getting closer now. So I've got measure, Baker, Oregon. I know the order's off here with urban and rural. I can adjust that. So let me actually just do another select. I'll do measure, Baker, Oregon, rural, urban. All right, awesome. Let's see. So now I'm just looking at the order. It actually is in order. Cool. So I don't need to worry about that. I think that's because it came in the order that I needed it in already, I think. But in any case, it's appropriate. So let me focus now on getting this, the values, the numbers formatted correctly. So you can see, for example, all of my values are, for example, I need this like 14.7 to be as a percentage. Same thing with child poverty, same thing with foster care, voter participation, but just for child poverty, food insecurity, and voter participation. So I think what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to do this before I actually do the pivoting. So I might even do it, for example, let me just add a view here so it pops up. Yeah, I think I'm going to do it here. So what I'm going to do, this is how my mind works. I think, whoops, several ways you could do this. I'm going to add a new column, and I'm going to just call it formatting type. So I'm basically going to add a new column that will determine kind of how the numbers get formatted as when I turn them into percents in some cases, because again, I want to do some of them into percents, but not all of them. So I use case when, which is just a nice way to, I don't know why it keeps doing that, to kind of give various options. So I'm going to say formatting type equals case when, and I'm going to do, actually I'm even wondering, just one second, when I bring in these measures, data by measure. Yeah, I might change this later. I might actually put it into the file where I'm bringing in the data, but for now I'll just do it here. So I'm going to say, let me just make this a little bit smaller so I can see this. So if basically if it's food insecurity, child poverty, or voter participation, then I'm gonna give it the value of like percentage or something like that, and otherwise I will give it the value of numeric or just whole number or I don't know, something like that. All right, so I'm gonna say so if measure is in, let me actually make sure I get it exactly as it's written here. So food insecurity, child poverty, or voter participation. So if it's one of those, then let's call it percentage. Everything else, so true equals whole number. I don't know, something like that. So you can see now I have this new variable here. So now I'm going to use, I'm going to add it up here actually, do library scales. I'm going to use the scales package. So now I'm going to make a new variable called value formatted, which will take the values that I have here and will convert them into what I want it to be. So for example, I'm going to say, and I'm going to use another case when. I'm going to say value formatted equals case when. So if, formatting type equals percentage, then value formatted is equal to value divided by 100. Let me just actually keep it as that for now, and then otherwise just assign the value. So you can see what I've done. I'm going to do this in a couple different steps. I've basically said if it's if I'm saying that this variable is actually a percentage, then let's divide, for right now, just divide it by 100. If it's a whole number, let's just keep it, just drag over exactly what's there. All right. So now let me work on, I'll actually do the simplest one first. Let me convert this to whole numbers. So I'm going to say, actually, instead of just doing it as value, let me do, what is it? Is it number? No. Number format? Oh, I think this changed recently. Label, I think it might be label number. No. What am I doing wrong? No, it is number format, I think. Again, chime in if you can help me figure out what I'm doing wrong. Hold on, let me try something. What am I doing wrong here? I'll give the examples here. Basically, the scales package allows me to relatively, well, hopefully easily, take a number and make it into, in this case, I want to make it just into a whole number. But as you can see, I'm kind of failing with that. Let me try percent. Okay, that worked. What am I doing wrong then? Oh, okay. Yeah, someone says, wonder if this one you need to be explicit about the data as in number format. Maybe, although weirdly, that number now works here. What am I doing? I don't quite get it, because when I did number 14.2 down here, it works, but when I do number value, oh wait, do I have an extra? Must be a double. Huh, I wonder if this, no, it can't be. I'm wondering if it's somehow, no, it's numeric. I'd love whoever, NSRocker92, if you have any other like specific feedback, I would love that, because as you can see, I am struggling here. Let me just try something simpler. So like value formatted equals number value. Okay, that worked, which makes me think I'm, oh, do I just need to like do something stupid like take out my, no? try, let me just leave this one for now and see if I can get it working with the percentage, or the percent. So for this, for example, I know I want it to be a percentage, or show up as a percent. No, that's definitely not working. Must be a character vector, not a double vector. So that implies that it's telling me, what I'm thinking is it's trying to tell me that I'm using a character, a variable that's of type character, but that doesn't make sense because I know value, for example, is, oh, I think I know what's going on. If I just do it for one of these, so for example, if I do percent value, this, then this line gets turned into character for variable type, whereas this line is still showing up, I think, as numeric. Maybe that's, ooh, that worked. Awesome. Yeah, so the second line was still showing up as numeric, and the first line here was showing up as character. So I needed to ensure that both options here made it show up as the same variable type, because in a vector, so in other words, in a column here, it can only be one variable type. And so I needed them both to be, in this case, characters, because the thing with the scales package is it basically turns things into, it's ways to like show data. So they're no longer numeric. So this value formatted is no longer numeric, it's character. So that's why I needed to do it for both of them. All right, so I have too many decimal places, so let me deal with that. That is the accuracy argument. So I think it's accuracy equals 1 for whole numbers. Yeah, because I want whole numbers for all of these. All right, and I think let me add accuracy equals 1. Is that going to work? Yes. All right, so you can see now, for example, I'm getting this more in line with what I want. So I've got 15%, 13%, 24%. Although interestingly, wait, child poverty. Oh, I see. That's 20% is from the urban because the order is slightly off. Okay. Cool. So let me now take that view out. So let me actually run through the whole thing now. Ooh, okay. It did not like that. It threw a bunch of NAs. Let me actually run it. I don't know if other people work this way, but I like to throw, oh, I know what it is. Throw in a bunch of views just at different points in my pipeline and kind of see what's going on at that point. So I need to do values from value formatted because I'm no longer using that. I'm no longer using the value. We can't actually see it, but I made this new variable value formatted. So let me try that. Okay. Huh. Weird. Food insecurity. Oh, you know what I think I need to do? So I think after I make this value formatted, I'm going to actually just drop that formatting type variable because I don't think I need it anymore. I'm just wondering why I'm getting... Oh, and I can also drop the value variable. Yes, there we go. So basically after I did this, I have these extra columns now, the value and formatting type that I don't need anymore. I really just needed this value formatted. Cool. Let me actually just make sure my chatting thing is working. Oh, I actually see some comment. Oh, oh no, wait, that's sorry, that's on a different thread. Cool. Just checking everything, making sure it's working. Awesome. All right, so let's see. Let me take out my extra views because I don't need those. All right, now I'm getting pretty decent in terms of the kind of structure that I want. I'm just taking a look and making sure everything looks as I expected to, and it does. Cool. All right, so now, so I've done all that before. I know I promised this was about making a table, but of course you have to actually get your data in the right format to make a table, so I didn't actually do that. I hadn't done that beforehand, so now I think we are ready to work on the table. So let me... I'm going to load a package that I have made called TFFF for Family Foundation. It just allows me to get some colors that Ford Family Foundation use, their brand colors, in an easy way. So at this point, I'm going to run cable spelled like that. So if I run that, what it outputs here is an HTML table. That is not what I want. Although one thing I'm actually noticing when I run that is it looks like it's actually putting a space around all of my variable names. I don't know, maybe that's just part of cable. I don't know, I've never seen that before, but like I said, I haven't used this package much. So I know I can do cable styling is the main function that we're going to start to use. And you can see now in the console it's outputting the HTML, but over here in my viewer it's actually it's showing me the table itself. So I'm going to start out doing a few things. First thing I'm going to do is I am going to add borders around everything, because as you can see, in this table, there are borders around it. So I'm going to actually bring up the help files. Let me see. Kind of searching for where borders are talked about. Here we go. So it looks like I can add in cable styling. I've used this a little bit. I know I said I haven't really used it at all. That's not entirely true. I've used it a bit. I don't need view. And here. All right, cool. You can see now I am starting to get borders, and I'm actually going to remove this striped. I don't need that. I just plain table for right now is fine, which will get me started here. All right, so let me actually just bring up the help file for cable styling. So what I'm looking for is, I'm guessing there might be some argument or something like that that'll enable me to change the color of the border, because it looks like right now it's kind of a light gray. I see stripe color, although I'm guessing that's actually the striped option that I took off. Oh, it also says it's not available in HTML, which is what I'm going for, I think. Let's see. I also have open the package documentation for kableExtra. So let me see here. So it looks like I see like a border left, border right in this column spec function. Column text color. No, I don't want that. I'm just focusing on borders. Huh, it looks like it. I wonder if it has me do it through CSS. Yeah, I'm getting back to that. All right, let me try this column spec thing. I'm just gonna copy this directly and see what happens. Okay, it looks like it added. Oh, I see. Okay. So column spec, it looks like you give the name, or sorry, the number of the column. So it has bolding here. I'm not going to worry about that because I really just want to focus on the borders. So it looks like border right equals true. So I'm actually wondering if I could add this 1 through 5. Would that work? Yeah. So it looks like now it gave me border right. Because I am OCD, I'm going to write out true, and I'll do border left equals true. All right, now, actually, it doesn't really matter. That's going to add everything. All right, cool. I'm going to actually open up so I think this column spec is what I want. So I see border right, border left, but I don't see where I'm assuming this underline is for the text itself, not for, yeah, that underlines the text itself. That's not what I want. And actually, I'm going to do one thing. I see this include T head. So right now, when I did it, you can see it didn't actually implement those column, the borders for the first one, the header column, the header row. So let me add that, and yeah, now it should do that. I'm wondering if I take that off, what that looks like. Yeah, it looks like I don't actually need that. Maybe that's the default. I do see there's an extra CSS. I'm actually wondering if I could add some CSS to do this. So if I did, I know a bit of CSS. So if I did border, bottom 1, px solid, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That should give me on the bottom, oh wait, I need the FFF is white. I want it, ooh, there we go. I want it black for now. And in fact, it looks like I could just add, so I don't even think I need these. Yeah. So what I did is I used CSS to add a border around everything. So I did for right now 1 pixel solid and that hex code, which is solid black. I'm not sure if that's exactly what my designer is using, but it'll be easy to fix if it's not. All right. I'm going to do actually one thing. Just looking at how this is done. So I can see that the Baker, Oregon, rural, and urban are all caps, and obviously they're not in mine. So let me actually just change that. I'm going to do that before I do the pivot wider. So for example, if I just do view here, basically back in the geography, when I have that geography variable, I'm going to do mutate geography equals str to upper geography. So now if I do that, cool. So if I do view, you can see now I have those columns. So now when I do select, I can't call it Baker like that. I have to do it capitalized. But I'm actually going to add something that'll shorten it. So I can use the everything function. What that'll do is it'll first select the variable measure, and then it'll select all the other variables. So you can see now, perfect. I have measure, which I'll take out. I'll figure out in a little bit how to take that out. But I have Baker, Oregon, urban, rural. Cool. Let me just check and make sure, see if there are any feedback. Oh, Monique, sorry, I just saw that you commented. For some reason that didn't actually show up on my chat, but thank you for the feedback. Looks like it was on the issue I was having with formatting. And I will actually try and keep that open. Yeah, see if there are any other feedback coming in. All right. Cool, let's see. Let me work now on, for example, getting this column, the second column, all yellow. So I think what I need to do is use that column spec again. It'll be for column 2. And I think there was a background. Yeah. So I'll do background equals, and I have a function that I've written, just TFF colors. If I do yellow, it'll return the hex value of the the yellow color that is part of Ford Family Foundation's branding. So I can run that. Whoa. That is not what I expected. Let me take this off and see. Oh, weird. Okay. Huh. So it seems like maybe I need to move that. Somehow that was like interfering with it. Yeah, there we go. And I think I need to add this include equals true. There we go. All right. I'm also noticing all of these are centered in the column. So let me see if there's a way to center. I thought I saw one over here. Let me see. Yeah, there we go. Or yeah, it's just a line. Why is that not showing up here? Or did I just miss it? I don't know. So I'm going to add a line center. Well, it says it's unused argument, which implies that it's no longer used. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at old documentation actually. Let me search for a line here. So the cell spec function too. I wonder if I just try, I mean, I assume I have to, with cell spec, I don't know how I identify which cell I'm referring to. So this could be a vector of numbers or strings. Just try this out. Do 1. What does that do? No, it doesn't like that. Oh, wait. Weird. It doesn't seem like it's showing anything there. That's strange. Seems like maybe I need to do that cell spec before. One other option I'm going to try is just adding in the CSS text align center. Let's see what that does. Okay, cool. That actually worked. There might be a better way to do it, but that works for now. The only thing is I'm actually realizing that's aligning the first column, which I don't want included. In fact, I'm probably actually going to drop that first column, so I'm just going to leave it for now. I'll probably add code later on that'll drop it, but I want to keep it just so I can kind of see it. All right, now, let me see. I think the next thing I need to do is deal with this color shading. So I think, like I showed you, it's a little different. Last year, it was the color of the text that was different. So if it was above the county level, it was in blue. If it was below, it was in red. It's going to be different this year because it's going to be shaded. So it's going to be shaded in light green if it's below the county. If Oregon or rural or urban is below the county, it's going to be dark green if it's above the county. I see, Susan, thank you. You added feedback in terms of aligning it, which is helpful. So actually, Susan, you suggested putting that there, and I assume you'd have to repeat for whatever columns you want to use, so like that. I'm going to actually just leave it the way it is because it's working for me for now, but thank you for that feedback. So let's see. Now I know this is whoops. I know this is slightly out of date, but I think it's still gonna work for the shading. Yeah, so there's the background. So it looks like you can do it for rows. All right, so I think what I need to use is this conditional logic. Because, again, the way it works is it depends. I basically need to compare two values, right? So let me actually see. I see. So it's doing, it basically has an if-else. So for example, here it's saying for the miles per gallon column or cell, the color, if the miles per gallon is greater than 20, then it's red. Otherwise, it's blue. All right, let me try this. So I'm just gonna actually. Oh, that's interesting. They're actually doing it in a mutate beforehand. Huh. Let me just try it, like if I add it right here and see what happens. But then I might actually take the approach that they use. So obviously I don't have an MPG column. I'll just use Oregon color, if else. That's fine. I'll just do color for now. And I'll say if Baker is greater than Oregon, do it red, otherwise do it blue. That did not work. See something. Maybe I will try and do it in the way that they do, although I need to compare two columns. Let's see. Let me bring back up the cell spec. Looking over to see if anyone's got help for me, because I'm definitely, this is, I knew this would be the most complicated part. Because their comparison here, that if else, is slightly more straightforward. It's basically if it's above 20, do this. Otherwise, you know, make it red, otherwise make it blue. I need to do it slightly differently. Although, let me try that. So mutate. Just looking at this. So Oregon equals, actually copy. Let me see, I probably have mismatched parentheses. So 1, 2, 3, actually that looks okay. Let me delete it down here. Does that work? That definitely did. Interesting. It added the HTML. Oh, you know what? I can't really do comparisons there because it's no longer numeric. So I'm going to have to actually do this earlier on because, yeah, I need that. I need it to be numeric so I can do this comparison. Because in other words, I can't compare the Baker column and the Oregon column because they're character values, right? So let me see if I can do this. I'm going to need to do it before I drop the value column. Let me see. So let me just add a view here to remind myself what I was looking at. I'm wondering. I wonder if I can keep the value. So keep value. So basically, I'm going to do this before I'm going to take a look at it. Oops. Can I add? That's funky. So I'm wondering, maybe I need to just keep the value variable for now. If I do that, so I'm just trying to keep the value, keep the raw labels a bit later on, and then I'll take this that I commented out and I'm going to add it kind of later on. Okay, now what if I just look at this again? So I wonder now I could probably do this because I can compare Oregon and Baker because they're both numeric. What if I run this? All right. So it's giving the HTML. Yeah, it's giving me the HTML. And I can see, for example, this first one would be red, color red. But then down here, it's blue. So this one is lower than Baker, this one is higher. Okay, so I'm on the right track. Let me, to get it closer to what I actually want, it's actually the background that I want. So if Baker, let me close this. If Baker is greater than Oregon, then I'm going to do the light green color. And if it's less than, and I am going to just change this because I'm really pedantic, and I actually, let me just keep it the way it is, and I'm going to change it in a second. See if that works. All right. Yeah, so I can see that it's giving me the, so it's added a background color. And the hex codes there are the colors that I need. So for example, if I do TFF colors light green, then it returns that, which you can see shows up here in the CSS background color. So I'm on the right track for sure. Now I just need to figure out why it's actually outputting the CSS, or sorry, the HTML, and not just rendering it. Let me actually look at, so I wonder if I need to add this format equals HTML in my cable function. Whoops, I got an extra. No, that's not. I don't know why. I wonder though, maybe, I wonder if maybe if I were to like save this, if it then save that, well, I don't know why it's like outputting. Oh, maybe it is actually, because if I look at the text down here, it is actually, the HTML is actually, I think, showing it in the way that I want it to. Let me actually try something. So there is an as image function, which is I think what I'm going to end up using, which saves your table as an image. So I'll just call it test.png. Oh, that did not work. All right, so it should, emphasis on should, save this as test.png, it saves it there. Okay, that is not what I want, because it still has the HTML in it, so definitely not what I want. So I still have to figure out why that is going on. I am not sure what is going on here. back at the kind of overview, see if there's something I need to do. I've never seen it do this where it actually just outputs the HTML. Huh, so I can see actually, maybe it's because in that variable now, it's actually, it doesn't have the text, it just has the formatting. Huh. So I'm wondering if there's a way that I can tell it, hey, don't treat this as text, treat it as HTML. That's going to matter. That's the same thing that I had before. Whoops, I don't need it to actually make that test file again. I don't actually know what's going on. Let me see one thing. I might actually have to stop for now because it's not going to be very interesting for you to watch me beat my head against the wall trying to figure this out. I'm just, let me look to see if there's anything else I could do for now. Don't actually think, can't actually think of anything right now. Yeah, so maybe I'll stop for now. If I will work on figuring out the answer to this and do another session when I have hopefully figured out the answer. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. And if you figure out the answer and want to let me know, I'd appreciate it. All right, thanks everybody.